happy now. Now is the vibrate, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now. I want to speak on a few things within the same subject. The flower smells good, you know. And you wonder, like, you know, why does the flower, you know, have fragrance? You know, why does the flower smell good to us? You know, we see it or perceive it as something that smells good. Well, wouldn't you be able to say that flower smells good because shit exists, you know? If it wasn't for stank shit, you know, stuff that smell good wouldn't exist, you know? And a lot of us take this expression as some little, like, one of those little open, general little Zen sayings, like, you know, to have one, you cannot go without the other, you know, and people take it as just, oh, that's just some bullshit. You could feel good without pain existing. You could. Well, think about that. You know, if you take away pain, you know, you take away all the polar opposites, then you're going to have one singular experience. How you going to know that singular experience is good if it has no contrast to it? Meaning, if every flower, everything had the same smell, if everything looked the same, you know, if all experiences were the same, you know, like it wasn't, like you didn't feel indifferent about everything, it's just all the same, we all the same, hey, everything all the same, you know, it wouldn't be, you know, again, it wouldn't be no degrees of, you know, difference in the nature, because everything would be the same. And you could say, well, yeah, oneness, that's what we aiming for. We're aiming for everything to be the same. Like, not to that degree. The reason why we're here right now is because everything was exactly the same, and we got bored of that and chose to, you know, be into this dual nature, you know, like, you know, the Lucifer, or, you know, the Satan energy, you know, pop that big question, basically, where everything was perfect, everything, quote unquote, perfect, everything was all one. Let's just say that everything is all one. Nothing is different. And then somebody just asked the question, well, you know, like, why, where did all this come from, and why everything has to be all one? And then boom, you know, that explosion of duality comes with that question, you know what I'm saying? And when I say that, I'm expressing it from a position of, you know, my inside story from my DMT trips, and, you know, like, of course, a lot of book knowledge and stuff like that may go into what I'm explaining, but a lot of this comes from my first-hand experiences with, like, consorting with my God self, you know, and really seeing, like, you know, because I asked that question, how did we get here, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, the duality vibes, and again, people see that like, oh man, something has to say. So you mean I gotta go through slavery in order to know what freedom is, you know? Well, again, just look at it for what it is. On either side too, like, say if you was just a slave for so long, you know, it would be no good or bad to it. You just see it as experience that you would, you know, have to go through in essence, because no other thing would exist but that. So you know, you just would have to go with the flow of that. And when I say have to, I mean indirectly, you know, you would want to in essence, because that's all you have. You know, there is no other, you know, option, you know, so you're gonna kind of in essence like what you're dealing with. So whether that be slavery or freedom, you know, say for instance, and just if only one could exist, you know, you're gonna be content or whatever with it, because that's all that exists, you know. And you see, you got to be able to really put your mind in a place where, all right, like really envision that one thing existing. Because a lot of us, you know, reason why we're having trouble with these concepts, because you're having trouble really placing yourself in a world where only one thing existed, where no dualities existed, where we all was one. And I keep it real. I explained this on a few of my older videos about like it is boring being a part of source. Like, as much as a lot of people talk about, oh yeah, oneness and going back to being one with source, it'll get boring being a part of one bigger, you know, consciousness for all eternity without doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, reason why we're here is, again, we got bored of that. And now you could say, oh, why people gotta die, why it, but you thinking about it from a human aspect. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody dying, there's nothing bad happening. You know what I'm saying? It's all just different experiences, you know. And that's the overstanding that spirituality is really about too. Cause I'm having to, you know, in essence modify, you know, my growth. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm coming across the information of where, you know, at one time is about, you know, raising the vibration, in which we are raising the vibration, but not to a degree where, all right, I'm raising my vibration so I could be way higher and separate myself from lower vibrations. And it's like, no, it's a consciousness awakening. This higher consciousness, in an oxymoronic and ironic type of way, this higher consciousness is about balancing out the lower vibrations within the high vibration. You know what I'm saying? It's not about just going straight to the high vibrations. It's about balancing everything out. So in essence, higher consciousness is a balanced consciousness. We're realizing that, hey, the dual nature and things, you know, it's not for us to pick a side and hate the other side. It's for us to balance things out and be able to live with the dualities, but without trying to like pick sides. You know what I'm saying? Just, you know, be within your being, you know, and balancing the masculine and feminine, the light and dark, the hot and cold, you know, balancing those things out. It's not about being on one side. And reason why it's not about being on one side, because then, you know, as above, so below. Like, if we torn in our nature, then everything else is torn in its nature. It's like, that's what, you know, God, you know, the whole mechanism of God, you know, again, it's torn if it's like, oh, one side over here. Like, it's all about hot, it's all about cold. Think about that body. You know, it's all about feminine, it's all about masculine. That, you know, seeing somebody that's, you know, and we see, like, with the bipolar and schizophrenia, you know, vibes are like, you know, it's like going against yourself, you know, or doing things in a way like where you're, you know, you're so different from something else when both aspects exist within you, you know, and that would be the insanity of God, you know, to be everything, but then to pick a side of itself, you know, like, well, I'm everything in existence, but I'm gonna choose to be just with the darkness, you know what I'm saying? It's going to create a certain type of conflict within the body, you know, and that whole situation. Because again, as above, so below, our spiritual awakening is about us. Like, when they talk about becoming gods and stuff like that, it's more so moving into the vibration of having the understanding of, you know, like I don't even like to use the word God, but like the system, this whole intelligence and conscious mechanism that's, you know, been here for all eternity, gonna be here, you know what I'm saying? We trying to operate like that and operate to its highest capacity, because again, the way we doing things is the best way to do things in a manner that would allow for the less complaints. Let's just put it like this, like, less people complain when operate. Of course, they're gonna have some people that's gonna complain, you know. Again, in essence, you won't be able to please, you know, every aspect in essence, like, but once we get to this balance aspect, you know, then it will be less complaints. And that's why it is about the balance, you know. If the sun was overscorching us, you know, then only beings that was really, dealing with fire would benefit from that. So, you would have more complaints, because there's only one set of beings being able to exist in this condition. Or, well, if you didn't have the sun, only the cold beings would be able to exist. But that's just one small section of a lot of different beings, But if the sun was balanced in the way it shined, then that would allow for a bunch of beings to be able to exist. Now, of course, the ones that want to be on the extremes is going to have a problem. The ones that want it to be all the way hot, or the ones that want it to be all the way cold, they're going to have a problem in a balanced world. But for the most part, a balanced world does what it is. It balances things out for the majority of parties, which is the whole existence of Earth, and why a lot of beings like Earth is because it provides a physical platform for a bunch of different walks of life to exist, So again, the higher consciousness that we're moving into is a balanced consciousness. It's not trying to be like, oh, I'm a high vibrational being, get all lower vibrations away from it. It's about, our raising in vibration is more of a conscious, a changing in conscious awareness, and not so much raising the vibration to get away from something else, Everything is God. Everything, in existence, everything existing, we are extension of soul. We are a source, so everything is us, you know what I'm saying? Every human being you come across in your experience, every aspect of everything you come across in your experience is a manifestation of what's going on inside your, your little conscious vessel, But again, the high vibrations in the spiritual awakening is about balance. So how we being told like, oh yeah, high vibrations, staying away from, and of course to keep a certain healthy balance, you're not gonna always have yourself around low vibrating people, but because it is a balance and we're trying to transmute energy, every now and then you're gonna find yourself around some, should I say, around or with some people that may be vibrating on a lower frequency than you, but it's because it's gonna be for you to help transmute their energy, to help transmute that energy into something more positive, and when I say positive, just basically putting things in a cycle, because just like the battery has the positive and negative side for it to give off energy. If you had two positive sides or two negative sides, you wouldn't get no energy from it, So again, that without stuff that smells stink, stuff that smell good, wouldn't smell good, And the same thing with stuff, like if there was no frame of reference to say, hey, there's something out there that smells good, then you wouldn't know what stink is, like, say for instance, I think about being from Opelousas. They got a little side of town, and I see it called the All Mill, and it always has a certain type of smell. And when you grow up used to it, if you're used to it and you don't know what something good smells like, oh, that's just the All Mill, it's only stink in the eyes of people who smelled something that's quote unquote, different or good, you know what I'm saying? So without that different experience, there's no such thing as stink really, even though it could be seen as stink. Is only seen as stink whenever there's something that smells good in existence, you know what I'm saying? So again, you wouldn't know, and that's the hardest thing for people to deal with when they think about the slavery situation. But I mean, it is what it is. Without the pressure, you wouldn't have the diamond, you know what I'm saying? Point blank period. And you could sit around and complain about that, but that would just go to show you that you could, as a being, you could sit around and complain about any aspect of our existence. We once sat down and complained about the oneness vibe, that everybody don't realize that as much as they looking into it, and you see that's where tapping into the subconscious deeply. When you tap deep into it, you really see, you know, the deepness of our existence and see like, all right, damn, we once was with the, you know, the all was one, like we was one big Siamese twin. And that didn't really work for us, you know, we wasn't really vibing with that. You know, so again, you know, it's just a part of existence. You know, that existence is one of the, you know, the best ways to keep the sanity for all parties, you know what I'm saying? Because again, as above, so below, we are a manifestation of, you know, for lack of a better word, God or source, you know, source is mine, all is mine. So, you know, what's playing out in us is the aspect of, you know, what playing out through source, you know. That's why the shaman vibe, or the, like, you know, the shaman, the bodhisattva, you know, just that person that has that walk of life, you know, in most cases their job is to do basically what God's job is, you know. It's basically to maintain sanity while having an understanding of all these different things existing, you know. So it's being able to function in a certain type of way, you know, with a certain type of quote unquote sanity, for lack of a better word, while still knowing that, you know, like, oh, I'm the molester and the person being molested. I'm the slave owner and the slave. I'm the light, I am the dark, I'm the masculine, I am the feminine. You know, I'm everything that exists and everything that don't exist all at once. You know, I am here forever and never going anywhere. Like, you know, having to deal with all those concepts, you know, and then too, for us on a physical level, you know, knowing the vastness of source and still being able to be rooted, you know. That's the thing, like, again, the balance, like being able to go into the high vibrations, know they exist, interface with them, but then still going into the lower vibrations and dealing with that and interfacing with that, you know. Like as a tree, you know, a tree, you know, if I existed as a tree or as a human, let's say, matter of fact, as above, so below, to the point of the way I used to, you know, deal with my spirituality, but say, for instance, as a tree, which it could say this, but it wouldn't be living in its full existence. Like if a tree was like, you know, its consciousness will want to stay in its leaves. Like it like, say for instance, even though the tree is the whole tree, you know, it's the roots to the leaves, you know. But say for instance, the consciousness of the tree is like, I want to stay up here in the higher vibes. I want to stay up here in my leaves. Like, I don't ever want to go into my lower nature and, you know, touch bases with the roots and earth. I want to just stay up here. You know what I'm saying? Then it has a one-sided view. You know, like this is a whole situation going on. And that tree choosing to view a whole situation from a piece, you know, from a piece of the situation. So in that moment, you know, it's not seeing the bigger picture, and it's not existing on that level, you know what I'm saying? It's choosing to be just in the high chakra, you know, for that example, you know, when I was choosing to be just in my high chakras and I wasn't connecting with, you know, with people, things of this nature, but it is what it is. You're in a physical shell for a reason. You know, there's others who exist on different levels around you for a reason, and it's not for you to hide from them, you know. It's for you to exist fully in your being, you know, and on all levels, and to exist in a balanced type of way, because that's how God exists. Think about if God was just on the devil's side, quote unquote, like on the, or should I say the devil, or the overly masculine side of the situation, or if Source was just on the, you know, the goody two shoes side, or on the overly feminine side of the situation, you know, and not to necessarily correlate the feminine masculine with bad or good, you know, but just, you know, if Source chose to pick a side on that situation, then again we would have an existence of a certain insanity of just one side battling with the other side, you know. And think about our physical existence being the mind of another being. Then you will see the insanity of going back and forth with yourself. Like you're basically going back and forth with yourself. So it's a trickle down, like a fractal, as above, so below, of God going back and forth with itself, So it trickles down into us going back and forth with trying to, deal with this balance situation, and realizing that there is no separation in the dual nature. It's just two sides of one coin, and again, it's having to have that understanding of being on all those realms. So picture being, because it's like being in two places at one time and still being sane. You know what I'm saying? Like, that takes a lot of work. Reason why our spiritual growth takes a lot of work. You know what I'm saying? And it's not no discouraging or look at it as bad or hard. Like, no, it just, it's just something that takes more than a snap of a finger. You just got to put a little work into it, But again, existing in the higher and lower dimensions at the same time, knowing everything, like knowing the aspect of being God and that you're everything forever and you're going to be around and it's going to be around, but then at the same time, existing on a level to know to go walk the dog and go pay a bill, you know what I'm saying? Like, to exist on a human level, it's like, it takes a certain level of balance and a certain level of sanity and grounding. The what society calls crazy people, schizophrenic or bipolar people who have trouble grounding these, grounding that concept or grounding that existence. It's like grounding themselves on a level where they're not always focused. Because again, if you don't ground the concept, that's where you get people who may like still focus on, God is evil, and then you got good over here, and then you got that, like, or just focus on different little divisions of the bigger picture, you know what I'm saying, compared to operating same thing. Like, all right, we're waking up on the spiritual growth. Well, the reason why with the abundant vibe, like making money manifest, is because they're still having that illusion of, oh man, the rich people are being rich is something that is bad, like, that is something separate from you, and it's like, nah, it's nothing bad or good about what they're doing, you know what I'm saying? It's just experiencing they doing what, just existing on the level of their existence, you know what I'm saying? There's no good or bad to what they're doing, but when you're seeing it as this is something good and this is something bad, then you're not going to experience the wholeness of your being, you know what I'm saying? Because you're going to choose sides within yourself. God is everything, again, for God to choose a side, that would create just an ongoing battle. When you look at what we call crazy people, they kind of have that ungrounded approach to things, you know what I'm saying? Whether they back and forth between poles, which is what some people, what they consider bipolar, or just, again, just the vibe. And what's funny, as I'm delivering this information, trying to stay grounded myself while delivering this information, realize that I'm kind of, as I'm going back and forth, I could kind of float off into the information, if that makes sense, and I make sure I'm delivering the message in a certain type of way where you could, learn from it in essence, So it is the grounding in there, being able to tap into all these high vibrations, but then still be in the quote-unquote lower vibration of my physical existence, to be able to, articulate and share these high vibrations with you on a lower vibrational level, in essence, So again, the balance, that's why, the shamans and the bodhisattvas, these people, that position is kind of, a lot of people have reverence for it in the spiritual, dealing with spiritual growth, there's a lot of reverence for the shaman and for the bodhisattva, because they basically living in, walking in God's shoes, literally, in essence, like being in all these places at once, being interdimensional and multidimensional, and still existing in your physical form, you know what I'm saying? think about if Source just up, just up and was like out of blue, like, man, I just want to be on this side of the spectrum, you know what I'm saying? Then as above, so below, our little world going, be affected, then we got to make a little strong shift on one side. And then as cycles go, that's why the cycle is like a continuous battle until balance is achieved. Because again, it's like one side gonna try to overdo its side, and then when the cycles and the tides change and the energies kind of switch up, then the other side is gonna try to battle it out. But it's not about no battle. That's the illusion. Is trying to make these forces battle it out. Because that mean, again, the world. What we see going on in the world is an example of what's going on inside you. It's about acceptance and balance. It's not about one side going against the other. The masculine going against the feminine, or the white against the black people, or it's none of those things. You know what I'm saying? It's about balancing these energies out. It's knowing that you are all things that exist. So you either put on your big girl or big boy pants and learn how to balance things out. Like that's what a responsibility is, God. Now you see what, because for a lot of us, we ask how it feel to be God or what God deal with. If you want to know that's what it is balancing the world. You have no time to be in your ego when you're trying to maintain a whole existence of something. You know what I'm saying? You gotta put on your big boy and big girl pants. It's no longer no time to sit there and try to be just black or just white or just Asian or just Mexican and just, it's time for you to realize that you are all those things. You know what I'm saying? And the balance of it, realizing you are all those things and you still playing your character in the game. So of course, from the perspective of your bodysuit, you're gonna maneuver and do things in a certain way, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, it's while still realizing that you are, part of the whole. And again, it's about realizing the balance of, again, the Papa Legba energy, being on both sides of the spectrum while still maintaining that sanity, like dealing with the non-physical and the physical, which I don't like using that terminology, but I feel like both of those realms are physical. One is just our five senses is not so physical sensitive to, compared to the the other side. But again, and back to what our spiritual awakening is about. The high consciousness, reaching a high vibration, in essence, is not leaving lower vibrations behind. Reaching a high vibration is realizing, ironically, that we're bringing the lower vibrations with us. You know what I'm saying? We're transmuting energy. Because again, it's like fighting with yourself, Like, that's why everything is about being guilt-free, and because, matter of fact, the guilt and all that comes from being taught this is good and bad from some outside situation. Because at first, as a kid, you first born, because when we look at kids, that's the trueness of source, trueness of being. As a kid, as a little baby, we doing what we feel, before our parents tell a bad kid, good kid, right thing, wrong thing. We just exist, we just having fun, you know what I'm saying? And matter of fact, and we have like the little negative experiences. Matter of fact, to teachers, I heard Seven Bomar said that in essence, where like a negative experience, is something that we experience once, and it's a teaching experience, and we keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? Not nothing to linger in or nothing to linger around. But again, going through the high consciousness is about the balance of the hemispheres, When you look at the sun not trying to overcook us or undercook us. It has the right balance. Look at water not trying to over drown us or not be there at all and have us just evaporate. You know, it's balance. It's there on the balanced nature. Same thing with our being, you know, as above, so below. You drink too much water, you could actually kill yourself. You'll bust all the cells in your body. You don't drink enough, you'll dehydrate. You be in the sun too much, you get burnt by it. You're not in the sun enough, then you're lacking the vitamin, vitamin D. You know, you're lacking vitamins and certain energies and downloads, you know, that you could be getting. To balance. You know. And when you look at it, when you look at souls and, you know, you see a certain type of maturity in a soul, you know, that maturity you see is in that soul that has that vibe of where they don't, like, they're able to look at a KKK member, you know, Hitler, you know, Ronald Reagan. You're able to look at all these people who had like these malicious vibes, you know, towards others. You know, you're able to look at them in the same light as you would the Dalai Lama or, you know, Paramahansa Yogananda, like somebody, you know, when you get to a certain spiritual maturity, you realize that Hitler was just important as you know, as the Dalai Lama. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, one has to exist for the other. If we had a bunch of just Dalai Lamas running around, then, you know, that's what it would all be. We wouldn't know nothing else to be happy or sad about that experience. You know what I'm saying? That would be the only existence. Or if we only had just Hitlers, you know, and just that vibe, then, you know, we'd be going with the flow of that. Nothing outside that exists, we wouldn't be able to decipher whether that would be a good or bad situation in the first place. You know what I'm saying? And that's where, too, that Adam and Eve aspect of, like, you know, like, we're naked, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you know, put on some clothes, this and that, you know what I'm saying? That kind of go into that, again, that recognition of, you know, the recognition of duality, in essence. And again, it's no bad or good thing. It's just just two sides of one coin, you know. And again, this is the only way for us to have a existence separate from just being one ball of source. So it's either dealing with this duality, you know, since a lot of us want to complain about this existence, like, oh, there's people dying and this and that, when we're really not dying. Again, we're playing a game with ourselves. So nobody's really dying, nobody's really suffering, nobody's really going through these things, you know. And on the opposite side, I mean, nobody's really oppression, nobody's really, you know what I'm saying, nobody really going through these things, you know. So you either could have one or the other. Either we could go back to being one big ball of non-physical source, you know, but we just one forever and ever, and there's no different experience but just being one big ball of consciousness forever and ever, with no, just forever and ever, just one big ball of consciousness, you know. And I'm not trying to frame it to make it seem like this is something you should be bored of. I'm presenting it, and it just presents itself as something where it's like, you know, yeah, that does sound kind of boring, you know. And you know, you never know. Maybe we would get bored of this existence, you know. I think too, that's what that option of ascending could be about. You know, it's like, all right, I'm tired of it for right now. And again, also bringing in that aspect of what reason why we're you know, tying in these higher dimensions into this physical realm, where we'll get it to a place where you could interface with Earth without having to, you know, sign all the paperwork. You know how you gotta go to DMV, you gotta go through all this sign of paper, where you could just incarnate you know, easier because the dimensional vibe on Earth is high enough for you to kind of just interface with it easier. You know what I'm saying? That way you don't really have so like say if I choose to like, hey, I want to go back to being in a higher existence, or I want to even go so much far back to being just the wholeness of everything, you know what I'm saying, on that level. Then if I get, you know, say if I get bored again, I could be like, man, you know, I want to go interface on Earth, you know, again. You know, I want to deal and bring down and go interface with memory, you know, this time around, you know, and come down knowing like, all right, yeah, I just left from the astral planes and just was doing this, just was watching, you know what I'm saying, compared to like coming as a new baby and like, like learning all things. This is my mama, daddy, like learning all that over. You know, you'd be able to come down with more of your, you know, consciousness, you know, remembering that realm in essence. And that, you know, and again, just making sure I cover all the bases. And that shaman vibe, maintaining that sanity, you know, the quote unquote sanity, while still, you know, and that's something like, cause I know a sister dealing with that, you know, now on that level, you know, just being sensitive to the energy, especially when you're sensitive to energies on such a high level, where you got like all this, you're experiencing like the full connection to God, but then you're also being told to be in the physical. Like that could make you, you know, if you, again, that's why it's certain positions in spiritual, or just say it's just certain positions in general, is for certain beings that have a certain strength, you know, to their psyche and to their consciousness, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, a lot of people wouldn't be able to maintain sanity, you know, having a connection with all this knowledge of the existence, and then still be able to be human, you know what I'm saying, and operate in a physical existence without, again, because that's where, you know, again, some of the crazy people come from, where they, you know, they're not able to exist on the level in which, again, there's no right and wrong, and that's why I always say quote unquote crazy, because you don't, to be socially accepted in this world, you know, in the insane world anyway, to be socially accepted, you know, doesn't mean anything, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is, you know. If you are on that spectrum of, you know, not being socially accepted, or, you know, aka crazy, you know, that's what your existence is about, you know, that's what you're here to be, you know, in essence. But, you know, that vibe though, it does come from a lack of balance, you know, that, and somewhere there's a chakra that's not spinning at the proper amount, so, you know, that person walks around all day like, you know, like those people that may preach like, well, you know, these beings are doing this and all, like where they speak on the level, and it's real sauce what they speaking, but, you know, they talking in a way, they speaking in an ungrounded manner, and they expecting people to accept it in a grounding type of way, like, yeah, these beings do such and such, this and that, and they always tell me this and this and that. Like, they speak out on it in a way, I'm trying to find the right, you know, these spelling words, you know, these spells. This English language is so horrible, but but anyway, that's basically it anyway, because this video getting kind of long, and I done kind of covered the basis of, you know, just the fact that our whole existence, you know, again, we was once in that perfect spot, you know, in that perfect place, got bored, you know, so you have a different existence now. And again, that's why our spiritual path and spiritual walk speaks to being grateful for your situation, because, I mean, you could find a way to complain about any situation, so why not find a way to be grateful about our existence right now, you know? And if you do want to see it be different, all right, you know, we are extension of source, start working on, you know, changing a certain aspect of this existence that you would like to see different, you know. It's possible. Everything is possible. So you do still have that, you know, that option lingering in the air as well, you know. You are a creator. Of course, we're co-creating, but, you know, you do have creative abilities in this realm, so. That's basically it. Just the balancing of energies and, you know, us moving into, you know, this higher vibration of existence, and, you know, this higher consciousness. You know, higher consciousness in essence is balanced consciousness. That's what we balancing things out. We're not like, oh, high over here and low over here, you know. It's high over here, low over here, and we're gonna find ways to keep them connected, you know, and transmute, you know, the high with the low, you know, keep it in a cycle like the microcosmic orbit of the breathing, you know, from the root chakra rising up to the crown of the spine and then descending in the front, you know, going from the crown back to the root, you know, cycling of energy as above, so below. Balancing out the masculine and feminine hemispheres. The reason why you're indecisive and feel like you're always battling it out with yourself, because you're allowing yourself to be separate. You're falling into the duality match. You know, if you find yourself, you know, just judging a situation or feeling like, you know, again, like you're all the way separate from something else in this existence, then you're kind of caught up in the dual nature of things. You got to realize to be in this world but not of it, in the sense of like, know that the dualities exist, but also realize that they're two sides of the one coin. Like it's not really a battle, you know, they sustain each other. You know, one exists for the other one to exist, you know what I'm saying? Without you know, spiritual liberation would just be the normal way of life, and that's all we would know if slavery and oppression and all the opposite sides to that didn't exist. Then, you know, then we would only know, you know, the quote-unquote good vibes, but it wouldn't be good vibes in essence. It would just be our normal existence. You know, it would just be everyday life. It's like, you know, doing this, but it would just become a normal everyday thing. It wouldn't have like no vibe of like, ooh, this feels good, you know what I'm saying, like to that level, because it would just be the normal thing. But then once that dual nature, something that exists on the polar opposite of it, then it really gives like, oh, all right, I really appreciate this. You know, you really appreciate certain moments because you have moments that exist that could be framed in the level of not appreciate, you know, like something harmful. You know what I'm saying? But again, two sides of one coin. You know, that pressure that makes the diamond. It is all, you know, all needed for the fullness of the existence. You know, but that's basically it. Peace. Happy now. Now is the vibrate, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now.